Hi guys, we are here today again. This is the second episode of season 1 on GuruCool Academy podcast, and will call it GAP, right?
Oh yeah, I like that.
So we have Preston again, Farrell, and we have one more person with us, one guest, I would say, Ryan.
Yep.
And we will all jump on the things. The topic that we were thinking about today to talk about, Preston brought a fear topic, and Farrell he's going to mention what he would say.
Sure. So it has to do with self-acceptance and owning oneself to be able to get to where you want in life and feel like you fit in. And before we get into it, I want to leave us with a quote to start. And it's from one of the Rocky movies. So Rocky Balboa. It's actually in the Creed movie. So Rocky's training Apollo Creed's son, and he's helping him overcome his challenges to, fight. And he pulls him in front of the mirror, and he's like, "You see that guy right there in front of you? That's the toughest opponent you'll ever face in life." And I think that's a good quote to start, because when we look in the mirror and we see ourselves, that's the greatest foe we'll ever face. And until we own that, we can't own anything else.
True stuff.
I think fear, I believe that fear is unreal. 99% of the time, what we fear is not going to happen. And fear, the feeling of fear leads to worry. And that creates a lot of stress-related problems, health-related problems. And we can easily counter that by just being in the present. Not thinking about the future, not thinking about the past, what may have happened in the past. But being in the present can eliminate a lot of stress related to the fear. What do you think, Farrell?
Me. Sorry, you were looking at prep. Yeah, so I think it's all subliminal, but it's also exterior. And I think that it's what we are aware of as far as fear, and whether we want to accept it or not. Let's just say we're perfectly fine and we act like everything's okay. Deep down, it's maybe something that's repressed, or it's something that we're never really, even if we act like we're on grips with it or not. And that's why sometimes you see those things where they have like the subliminal recalibration, because sometimes that's what it takes to dig down deep within before we can really get to the root of the cause. It's like when you see a bad tree or a tree that's rotted, it's not just the tree that's rotted, it starts below in the roots. And until you can get down to those roots, you can't save the tree until you start from the roots.
This is true. I think what you were saying about being in the present, we was having a lot of conversations today about fear. And one of the recurring things we kept coming back to was, a lot of those statements start with, well, what if? And when this happens, and last time this happened. So you're going to live everywhere but right now. You're going to live in yesterday, tomorrow, last week, next month. All of these places that you can't physically control. And the space that you can physically control, you are now intentionally flooding with all of these happenstances that are outside of right now. And that is what controls your fear. So if you change that, then you change the emotion. I'm absolutely invested.
Absolutely.
And I think that's good too, because that was actually brought up on another podcast that I did. I was talking to my guest, and we were talking about how the past is good to look back to learn from and to own it, but then you can't keep looking into it. You have to stay present to move with your future, otherwise you're going to be holding yourself back.
This is true.
Ryan, what do you think about the fear?
For me, fear revolves around the unknown, the things I can't control, and the things that I can't control. Like, I want to be in control of things. I want things to be in my grasp, and I want them to go the way I want them to go. And if they don't, I get upset, and I'm scared of that. And I don't know if any of you guys can relate to that, but I really do believe that fear revolves around the unknown. And yeah, that's all I got.
I think it has to do with not seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Like, everybody might tell you, for example, you're trying to meet a girl or you're trying to get this job. Oh, it's going to happen if you visualize it. And I think the biggest problem is people can't visualize it. And if they can't see it happening, then it's hard for them to believe it's going to happen. And that's where they fall into that negative thinking, because it's all about seeing is believing. And so the fear of the unknown ties into that, because if you can't visualize it, then how are you ever going to get there? That's where the fear runs you, and it brings this negative aura around you.
I think, but if you really look at the fear, what do you think is the cause of the fear? What originates or creates the fear? Preston.
Fear is taught. We are conditioned to fear. Something as simple as punishment, something as simple as taking your allowance away, or you got a beating, or perhaps you had to put your hand out and get your knuckles slapped. There were punishments for things to create fear. We turn that into other things that cause pain in our minds and our lives and everything else. We become afraid of those feelings. Not necessarily because they have to hurt you, but just because that's how we've been conditioned to feel.
I think if you go really back in your time, most of the time when your mind was not ready for something, to accept something, that this could be real, and that happened, you thought of it as a problem, and then you feared it. And most of the time, actually, when there's a lot of phobia related issues, the psychologists or the therapist will go or take you back in the time and try to fix it. Try to tell you that no, it's okay. It was okay at that time. That was not real, what you were thinking. So you have to go back and fix it.
It's cool too, because I was actually just watching a show today. It was in an episode. It's also in a movie too. There's a scene where this girl was binded to this. It's science fiction, so it was binded to this other organism, and it was on Star Trek. And the organism had all these thoughts of the past hosts it was in, and it wouldn't let her unlock these memories. And the reason she was having trouble binding with this was because she hadn't accepted the repressed memory that she repressed of the traumatic experience that brought those two together. And once she accepted, she was able to be one with this organism, and they were on the same wavelength. So I think it comes down to whether it's trauma or whatever, it's something what we're taught. Once we own it, it makes us stronger.
Yeah. I also think fear is the problem of intelligent people. The more intelligent you are, more smarter you are, you actually think ahead. So much ahead of the consequences of that fear. So I always say it is better to be dumb than sorry. So just be dumb, don't think too much.
Get out of your head.
Today. Yeah.
It's very true when they say ignorance is bliss. It actually is. It actually is. What you don't know literally cannot hurt you.
Yeah. A lot of people will just start thinking, okay, like they're playing the chess in their mind, next move. They're thinking 50 move ahead,
Yeah.
But that's not the way to live in real life, you just have to be dumb.
It's like Alice.
You go. It takes away from the moment. I always say take it a day at a time, but it's hard to do that when you're living in fear because you're always worried about what could happen. And that takes a toll on me, and I don't know if you guys can relate to that. I'm always thinking about the next thing, like you said, and whether it's going to go right, whether it's going to go wrong, smooth, this or that, and you don't have control of that. And that's what drives me up a wall, and it drives a lot of people up walls because, like I said, I think it stems from control, what I can control and what can happen and what, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
We fear not having that control, and it's a very ominous feeling because that's what gets it. You think so much, and it's like you're here thinking about the next thing, but then you forget about where you are, and you miss these moments. And so a lot of people, what they also don't do is they're thinking here where they can be, but they forget that they're not where they were. So it's like when you move to the next piece, now you're already thinking ahead, but what about where you were, and now you're not where you were? It's like you're almost skipping, hey, give yourself a pat on the back, you did a good job, now you're focused on the next thing.
What do you think is causing the fear? Is it your heart that is afraid, or is your mind that is afraid?
I think it's your mind from pain, past experiences. You get cheated on, you're going to be scared you're going to get cheated on again. You get fired from a job, you're going to get scared that you're going to get fired again. I think experiences cause fear, as Preston was saying. I agree with that.
Yeah. So I think your heart is so passionate that it always tells you it's okay, don't worry, everything will be fine.
Yeah.
But your mind is the one which is like is going everywhere, like monkey mind that we say. It's like traveling millions of miles in a second. So basically, mind actually, what it's trying to do is trying to fulfill your requirements.
Has to do with the hippocampus.
Yeah. So it's not doing anything bad, but but in order to fulfill, it's actually telling you what you're lacking. So when it tells you what you're lacking, it just it creates fear, and the more you will plan based on that, you're gonna develop more fear.
Yeah.
And I always say in my book, it's the quote too: life cannot be planned; it can only be adapted. You can never, and then you probably you will relate to that too. Like you have planned so many times, but that never happens. Maybe a few times, but most of the time, exactly to the point, it will not happen.
No, and it almost ties into the notion. I think we were talking about this last time. It's like trying to predict the future. If you know the future, then the future changes by you very knowing it. So predicting what you think, how you want it to play out, it never plays out that way, but that's how it's meant to be. When you're here, it's already there. So you're never online, and sometimes it's better just to go in not expecting, and it's definitely interesting to see that because it's just how we're hardwired. And I think another good thing, Will Smith said this in the movie After Earth, danger is very real. Fear, now that's all in the mind. That's something that can be unlearned.
Yeah.
It is.
So unpredictability is the main cause of fear, I would say.
I think we kind of live in a PTSD society too, just as a whole. Just we're actually sponging in all of this stuff that's going on around us that can just create a generalized fear. I mean, it just really, think about what we're going through right now. Like I was saying last time, it's so funny to me because I can remember a time where if you tried to put a mask on and go into a public place, you were going to jail. Like right now. Like somebody was coming, there were going to be sirens, people were going to run, afraid, scared. Now people are afraid if you don't put one on. You are allowed to go into a place with nothing but your eyes showing. And like I said, I literally have a whole staff of people at my job that I've never seen before. Never. If they walked up on me with the mask off and said, "Hi, I'm so-and-so," I'd have to say, "Oh, that's what you look like." Because I literally don't know.
Yeah.
All of that contributes to an even larger sense of overwhelming what is going on. And while you're in that mind frame, everything is a little scary.
It's a social norm because it may not seem acceptable, but once it's globally acceptable in more than one person, then it's okay. It's almost like there's not enough leaders as there are followers until it becomes someone makes that dangerous or that scary jump and they take the trend, everybody else will follow, then they'll feel accepting of it.
Yeah,
I get it.
What do you think, Ryan?
I agree with you guys. It's just like everything's crazy right now, and the stress that surrounds everything, it causes that fear. Like, what's going on? What's going to happen? Is my family going to be okay? Are they going to get sick? Am I going to get sick? Am I going to get somebody else sick? And I feel like it goes through everybody's head right now. It goes through mine. I'm sure it goes through all you guys.
Yeah.
And it's just like he said, it's a generalized anxiety.
Yeah, it's very interesting that how we are crumpled by this corona, while the other countries like China, they're enjoying, they're producing, they're booming.
Yeah, because it always existed. It was already there. You just have to be careful like anything else. I really am still boggled because I have to believe that pharmaceutical and the makers of the masks and all of these protective
hand
things,
sanitizer.
These are the people that are still pushing this agenda. It has to be.
Yeah.
It has to
Think
be.
about it like this.
They want us afraid of this one thing. I have cans. I'm sorry, I'm one of these people. I have cans of Lysol that I had stockpiled. Okay. Some of them are probably 6 years old. I look on the can, part of what's listed on there says that it kills coronavirus. Clearly, They already knew about this thing. It's on this can of Lysol from 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Right.
Not new, maybe a different strand. Okay, but we had this listed on our products already years and years ago. Could have been up to a decade ago.
But you know what the
How do we
biggest
know?
problem is because if you look to there's been small outbreaks and stuff like that, but the last big is the flu. And about 100 years ago, Woodrow Wilson, whoever was around, who knows if they would have took it to the scale we take it to, because maybe now we're more stricter, or maybe we're more softer and modern medicine, so we're taking it more serious. Maybe they wouldn't have, there's no technology back then, so how you saw those dishes, you probably would have never seen anybody. There's no TV, there's no movies, there's no way of contacting someone.
Right.
But at that time, I'm sure they felt how we did, because there was no vaccine. Now we take the flu very less serious in the sense that there's a vaccine, so we're not as on it. Whereas we don't know what that feeling is like because there's no one alive to tell us what that felt like. We're just reading it in a textbook. So that's why it's all weird for us right now, because we're not used to living at a time where there is no cure for something or vaccine for something. So it's different.
But the world's been through this a million times. Tuberculosis, polio.
There's a textbook.
I mean, there's
Yeah.
bunches and bunches of diseases, viruses, bacteria that we just did not have enough information for, or that we did not release the drug for it in time for the masses to get it, you know?
I think the way everything is going, then in the med school would be just 1 month long with one book to read, which would be just on COVID.
Yeah, right.
Right? Fix COVID.
Here's your mask, here's your hand sanitizer.
Now
go
you
ahead.
feel like there's only COVID. That's it. There's no other disease can exist.
They're going to send the doctors out there with hand sanitizers and a gun holster.
Yeah, people not even if they get heart attack, they don't want to go to the hospital because of this fear.
No.
People aren't getting the treatment they need.
That's real, though.
Exactly.
That's
It's
real.
a mental
Like,
instability.
I'm sorry, but there were enough pieces of information out there that told people that, hey, the worst place you want to go right now is to the emergency room. You don't want to be in the hospital.
That's messed
the
up.
virus lives there. What?
It's probably safer there than in a grocery store.
Right.
It's the same thing. There's a ton of people in a group, and if you're gonna get it, you're gonna get it.
But then I remember it's funny because like you have to wear your mask till you sit down and eat. At the table you can take it off. Does COVID just die when you sit down?
Right.
Well, the fact is, I think this is a very, very infectious virus. So you cannot really escape it.
Yeah.
And I believe that most of us may even have gotten it. Maybe a different level.
We may not have
I
known.
got really sick before.
And it's funny thing. One of my actually friend, he died from it, but his test always came negative. But I still believe. I think this is what he had. You know, because his wife, she came from what was the name? Wuhan.
Mm-hmm.
Around that same November time, and then he got really sick in December.
Oh, wow.
So in New York City, and but his test always came negative.
Yeah.
And that was like a few months ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's crazy.
But I think that's a good way to tie into what we were talking about and to sum it up at the podcast, just to say that owning yourself, whether it's stuff you're internally struggling with or things you can't bring to light yet that are internal deep down in your roots, or even the pandemic as an example, you have to own and accept these things, and then it lets you move on. So I think the general theme of this today is that you own what's going on, and once you're ready to accept yourself and face in the mirror whatever's going on, we can all move on with our lives.
I believe in that, Farrell. I mean, once you accept, then only you can move forward.
Yeah, acceptance is key.
If you don't accept, you always will be living in your past, and you won't be in the present or the future.
I agree.
And as far as the fear goes, my book, The Briefcase Life, the first law is don't worry, everything will be fine. Whatever happens, happens for a good reason. So just don't worry. Chill, relax, live in today, and you'll be fine.
None. I guess, I'm still reeling from some conversations today. And I guess the biggest thing that I'm grateful for all of this pandemic-ness, as I've been calling it, is that people have been given the appropriate amount of time to kick their own stones around. People have been enclosed and quarantined and forced into their own personal relationships for real, and had to investigate those things and lift them up, turn the lights on, and
take a break and really
all of that
evaluate.
stuff. And and some of it made it stronger, and some of it made it like, okay, this is trash, it needs to go away. And be it good or bad, it's allowed a lot of us to get to know ourselves better. A lot of us to examine our personal relationships better, and to really go after some goals that maybe it was taking us some time to get to. I know a lot of people that have completed courses, that have completed degree programs, changed fields and all types of stuff during this time. So it's not been all bad and all fear. And in tying in with getting to know yourself and accepting things about yourself, I think that it's been a wonderful season for that. If you were really about that business and getting it done, I think it's also been a very good season to really put your fears out on the table and say, hey, this is the deck I'm dealing with. Let's go card by card and get it done, right? So, I've been really proud of a lot of the work that a lot of my friends have been doing, a lot of my clients have been doing, and even the work I've been doing personally myself. Don't get me wrong, I've taken advantage of the time too. I just really, this morning I woke up and I saw, I opened my phone, the first thing I saw was Maya Angelou's old quote that says, when a person shows you who they are, believe them the first time, right? The poignant part of that to me was just believing your own life lessons, validating what happens to you in your life and allowing it to resonate the first time, because we do things over and over and over again because we're hard-headed.
Hoping for different results. That's the definition of insanity.
There you go.
I was just about to say
Don't
that.
go insane. There we go.
Don't go insane on the membrane.
There you go.
So fear are us. Just like Toys R Us, fear are us. It is caused by us,
Yes.
So we have to eliminate overthinking anything and just chill, live it today. And this is the second episode of our podcast, GuruCool Academy podcast. We thank Preston, Farrell, and our guest Ryan. Thank you so much for coming. We'll see you next time with a new thought.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Be great.